Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's charming and solitary edition of Jawin With Jack, your favorite Goblin Run Monday night production. I'm the Jack you're looking for, and with me tonight is, well, no one yet. My guest hasn't gotten back to me. So let's just get this thing going, and I'll just blather until he shows up. So I've been meaning for some time anyway to have a stream where I just talk with the chat, see the people who show up, give me a message here. Let me know who's in the chat. Have a sip of coffee. If you're just joining me, then let me reiterate, my guest has not arrived as of yet. I haven't heard from him. I don't know if he's been held up in some fashion or another. Maybe he'll join us soon. In any case, I wanted to go ahead and do the show anyway because I've got plenty of stuff I can talk about. All right, Mr. Dale, glad to have you here, sir. Always a pleasure to have you in the chat. And I've got things I want to talk about. I've been doing a lot of great gaming recently. Hey there. Pretty lady. And I've been doing a lot of great gaming in solo, also in group gaming, and in particular, play by post. It's one of those things that I did not anticipate getting into play by post as much as I have. But primarily right now, I've been active in Serious DM's Drakkenheim campaign. It's a 5e, 5th edition, Braunstein style game. And in that game, we played for several months. It was a very epic story arc where every PC participating in the game, I don't actually know how many. It was impossible to count and keep track. Yeah, he's probably buried in a book, very much so. I mean, it's that history thing. One E Scuddy Fest game. Oh yes, yeah. I will be getting to that in great detail. But we'll put that on the list. For now, I'm going to continue on this play-by-post game because it's been really interesting to see the Braunstein principles that have been on the table of discussion recently be utilized in a 5e game. I have little to no experience with 5e. I went into it basically blind. In the first phase of the game, every player was given a powerful creature or character to play as a faction leader and then use that faction to interact with each other and the world. It was a way of world building. And a lot of cool stuff was going on in that phase. But also, as you might imagine, with a lot of very big, powerful beings, it was also a lot of craziness. A lot of craziness. Huge 9th level spells going off, all kinds of destruction, undead plagues, floating cities, wishes going off left and right. It was epic and huge. And my experience, though, was I started out I took over a faction that another player couldn't continue, which was led by a beholder and a death tyrant. Odd thing, but they thought they were the same being or really were the same being, but that was their faction. And I tried to roll with that, and I found that since I wasn't real experienced with 5e, nor had I really done much with beholders in my career, I've used them once or twice in my DMing career. It was actually really hard to get into that role and think of effective things to do and act out as a faction leader. So, I did a few things, made myself a big enough pain in the butt to the good wizards that they turned around and destroyed me. And the DM said, okay, they just wiped you out. There was no help in it. But what do you want to do now? And I thought, well, I was really overwhelmed with the last one. Let me do something a little bit more low key. I'll do a tribe of goblins. And that's when King Stinkfist enters the picture. Yang, good to see you, sir. And 5V sounds like a really trendy store at the mall. Yeah, it was bought out. They bought out Hot Topics, and they've been replacing all those stores for the last several years. So, Now, you would think that I would be completely overshadowed and overpowered by in a game where people are playing ancient dragons and archangels and 20th level art wizards and everything across the board. You know, you would think I'd be overshadowed. I started a faction that was just a little led by a little 5th level goblin, and you would think that would be completely ineffectual, but it wasn't. It was actually the opposite. Cyrus, glad to see you, sir. Make yourself comfortable. Get something to drink. Have a sip of something warm. Ultra TTRPG in the house as well. Thank you, sir. Glad to have you here. Loving the updates in the Caloras server, which I'm going to be talking about tonight as well, because that's on the list of things until my guest arrives. Now, in this play-by-post game, as I was saying, I thought I would be overshadowed or, you know, anything, but playing a lower level character in such a game, particularly since I didn't know 5e really well, it actually made it much more manageable. It turned it into a task instead of being overwhelmed by all these options and weird spell and powerful spell options and tons of spell slots and things along those lines. It was a lot easier to sink my teeth into the world and get started with a small faction like a goblin tribe. And I just did a thing where we started protecting the roads, and I was playing a kind of a good goblin story arc, and it caught on really well. And then before I knew it, I was in a council of good, you know, rubbing elbows with like Archangel, Archwizard, you know, 20th level warlock or whatever, you know, things I don't even know in this room, and then like a little goblin there too, and we're just making war plans against the forces of evil. There's been a few discussions on this, some threads online, and my crude description actually can't even begin to do justice to how epic and big the story is in the game. That's the thing that has really made me fall in love with it. So despite any other failings or you know, innovations that come out of it, because Serious DM has put in a ton of work generating random tables to create the world with, for generating factions, for wilderness encounters of all the different terrains on the map. He's put a ton of work into it, and deserves all the credit for what's forthcoming, because I've used it all and it works well so far. It's really neat to be oh, hey, we have a guest. Let me jump in here. We have the T-shirted historian. Yeah, all right.
What's going on, Jack?
How you doing, man? I'm sorry, did I wake you up?
No, I've got some kind of crud that I've been kind of getting over. It really got bad Saturday, but I'm on the other side of it now, I think.
I hope so. And to be honest, this is like, I've heard that from everyone I know practically in the last week. It's like the whole world has been swept by a mysterious illness, but a real one this time.
Gee, you don't suppose they accidentally let something loose again, do you?
Nah. All of our labs are airtight. That's just crazy to even speculate.
Oh, I know.
Numerous times.
Absolutely. Well, this one was unusual because it started off with dry coughing, which is like not something that's kind of normal for me, because usually if it's a cold or something, it's like immediately we go into the snot stage.
Oh, do you have kids to compound the problem?
No, I don't.
Okay. That's nor do I, but they are little germ factories. So at least we can take solace in that little bit of a reprieve. Now, now that you're here, allow me to introduce my guest, the T-shirted historian. We've been kind of loosey-goosey and touch base. I've been meaning to come on your stream at one of these days just to see what we got going on. But now that you're here, why don't you introduce yourself to the people and tell everybody what you do?
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is your T-shirted historian coming at you from Jack's channel. So anyway, yeah, I do pop culture commentary, usually movies, TV shows, anime, role-playing games, video games, And thanks to Ironcaster, now we're doing toys too. So it's pretty much anything that nerds are into that apparently non-nerds discovered and thought, oh, that's really cool. I think I'll get into that. And then found out, oh, this is all full of things I don't like. So now I want to change it all so it becomes something I like.
Gosh, I have noticed a worrying trend of that happening in recent years. Do you think we there's a light at the end of the tunnel? Are things changing for the better?
I mean, this is the thing. Everything that we love, all of our spaces, all of the things that we enjoy have been infiltrated by people who are casuals or who normally weren't interested. They found out there was a whole world of really cool stuff that they could get involved in, and they liked it too. And then for some reason they got in it, and they decided they just wanted to change all of it because there were parts of it that were icky, and not having grown into it like we did and being used to the way it is, they don't apparently see it as our way. They see us as the thing to eliminate.
Solid Gen Xer. I'm a solid Gen Xer myself. I feel very much what you're saying. Like there's a sensitivity to modern sensibilities that I don't like being injected into my traditional things that I loved nostalgically as a kid.
Exactly. Yeah. And no, I'm Gen X. I'm born in 1973. I'm 52 years old.
Me too. It's a good year. We're aging well. We're a great vintage. My wife has no complaints.
There.
Well, I mean, she has complaints, but not serious ones. Just,
It's not the age, man. It's the mileage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we can see who's showing a picture and who isn't. So I wonder whose mileage is looking worse. No,
I never get credited for my proper age. So I ain't worried about it.
Okay. Good. Now, I am most familiar with your stream. You do it on the weekly called The Week in Geek.
Yep.
How long have you been doing that?
God, I want to say at least 5 years, maybe 6 now. I mean, at least 5. I stopped counting after the first 4.
Right. Yeah. I couldn't tell you how many episodes it's been for me now, and I've only been doing it about 6 months. So I know what you mean. And you give or take, about 5 years. And just week in, week out, what you do is it's yourself and a panel of guests. It's kind of the same cast lineup most of the time, but it does seem like you rotate people and you discuss the pop culture topics of the week.
Well, I mean, here's the basic bottom line. My show doesn't really make any money, and I can't afford to pay people to be on my panel. So everybody who shows up is a volunteer. They're there because they're interested in the topic, or they like what we do and they want to hang out with us and they want to have something to say. And that's the bottom line. I mean, the 2 guys who've stuck with me the longest have been Ironcaster and Grim. And they're pretty much my ride or dies. I almost don't want to do a show if I can't have them both on, because they both have such really interesting views, and they come from 2 different schools. But everybody else is kind of like they rotate in, they rotate out. Some people they hang on for a little while and they leave. They get involved with other things, and and I don't diss anybody who's been on my show or anything like that. I mean.
Well, a lot of times in a format like that, I think new blood can really invigorate things. You get a new set of opinions rather than it's good to have some, stable pieces. But like, with the Tonight Show, you had Johnny and you had Ed McMahon, but you always had the guest in there to be the new blood and to shake things up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had a few people, kind of start their careers on me, not to brag, but Harmony
go ahead
Ginger.
And brag. Screw them. Brag.
Harmony Ginger actually got started on my show. She was going to actually be on someone else's show, and they canceled on her. And I said, well, why don't you come on my show instead? She did. She liked it, and she became kind of her own little big hit. And she has branched out, and she's kind of become her own star. And I'm proud of her. I do miss her being on our show, but she's gone on to bigger and better things, and she's too far. Her star is way too bright for me anymore, I guess. That's okay. I mean, I still wish her well. I still love her.
Not an ounce of bitterness. I don't sense there's no resentment at all.
There isn't. No, I know. I mean, it's like, it's okay. I understand. It's like, I'll be honest. I kind of wish I could get some more women on my show because I'm not stupid. Mm-hmm. They usually, when you get a woman on a good show, she's intelligent and she actually has something to say. It's not just because she looks good and and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, Twitch exists. If you want vapid and hot, you can go there. There's plenty of
exactly. It's like a woman who comes onto my panel. I'm not expecting her to show off her feet or anything. It's like as much as I might like that.
Not for a free stream anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, like I've had Eclectic Goat on, and she's extremely intelligent, very savvy. I've had Horror Anamorata on. She's really savvy. Mm-hmm. So there are some really good, smart women out there who do our kind of thing, and they need to be heard too. They need to be paid attention to because they're every bit. They have as many interesting views on whatever we're talking about as we do, and they're worth listening to.
Yeah, and that's one of my philosophies is women will always have a space at my table. If I had to pick one or the other, I would choose a table of all girls over a table of all boys. I love that stuff. They really get role playing in a different way right from Jump Street than boys do. Right, mm-hmm. There really is a difference in mindset. And they can get into the skin of a character, so to speak, so much quicker and more readily. Once they get that, they go, now we get it. This is it. Then any rules and crunchy bits will flow out from that. But they really get the idea of inhabiting somebody else's life for a little while.
Or maybe they just have an interesting view on something. It's worth listening to find out.
This is true.
So I always try to include any women I can possibly get to come on the show at any point that they're available. But it's not like I can magically just make women just flock to my show and wish to be a part of it. It takes a little effort on my part.
Don't we all? And I will make sure that this message gets out to as many women as I can reach with my Well, so I know there's my wife. I don't know if she's going to want to come on your panel, but I know she's listening. So there's one.
Well, if she wants to. And yeah, Ultra TTRPGer, he was on the show for a little while too. And then he decided to kind of do his own thing. And he's a great guy too. He's really funny. He does bring some interesting views to things himself because one, he's a lot younger than most of my panel. And two, he's not as versed in a lot of the old stuff like we grew up on. For example, he was just telling us the other day that he just saw Conan the Barbarian for the first time.
Neat.
Now, I saw that movie, I think I was about 9 or 10 years old. And it was on, a cable channel at the time, like HBO. And I'm pretty sure I watched that thing every single time it came on because I was a huge Conan fan before that movie. I grew up reading the comic books.
Was on VHS back in the 80s, back around that time. We didn't have cable, but we did have VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar. And yeah, it's amazing. I love seeing certain things like that. Like somebody just recently saw Star Wars for the first time. I advised them not to. They were thinking about it, and I was like, no, don't bother. If you've never done Star Wars, kind of maybe give it a pass. Like if you're like, you might be better off not knowing it. I passed on watching Game of Thrones, and by the end of it, a friend of mine told me I made the right decision.
Well, I've seen both. All I can definitely say is watch the first 3. And by the first 3, I mean like the one that came out in 1977 and then the 2 that came after that. And stop. Your life will be just fine. You will wander through it happily, unencumbered by all of the shit that has come to follow and been stirred up in its wake.
So by your presentation herein, I'm inferring that you're not a fan of the prequel films.
I mean, I remember seeing the first one back in the theater with my friends, and we all just kind of walked out of there really confused. And the only thing I took away from that entire movie was, wow, they had one really awesome fight with Darth Maul. The only problem is the way it was shot, you couldn't see more than a quarter of it at a time. And I mean, like, just the way the camera was focused in way too close to the action, so that, it was
I could
it wasn't
see that.
yeah, you couldn't tell what the hell was going on.
Yeah, and the lightsaber battles were, in general, the one thing I thought that they legit did better in the prequel movies. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Even the over-the-top parts were pretty fun. But, and Rogue One, I'll be honest, it left little to no impression on me, and I'm forever going to be mad that you put Donnie Yen in a Star Wars movie and did not give him a lightsaber to use. I am forever going to be mad about that.
I mean, that character was so awesome on his own. He should have gotten a damn Disney spinoff, but they probably would have messed that up. Instead, they decided to put the other guy on that nobody knew or cared about. So, but that's okay. It's Disney. They're going to milk that cow until it is an absolute desiccated husk.
So what do you think that is? Like, they can't be really making their money back on this investment at this rate, right? Are they raking money in hand over fist somehow or another? Is this stuff
don't
really
think so.
serving them? It doesn't seem that way to me. The only thing I've speculated over the years is that somehow they're being propped up by investment dollars, like BlackRock is willing to invest in them because they're ticking all the right DEI boxes, something like that.
Well, okay. This is the thing. The merchandise, which is what Star Wars. Okay.
Oh,
let me put it about as simply as I can. Lucas, back when he did the original, didn't want a whole lot for his part of the film, but he wanted the rights to the toys and the merchandising. And that ended up being the smart play because he made a ton of money on the toys.
Yeah,
right?
Arguably more toys got sold than movie tickets, I would say.
Exactly. And it was a more sustained model, too, because people would be buying toys long after the films were out of the theater.
Oh,
but the deal is, okay, but now it's 2025. If you ask the kids now, when was the last time you played with a toy? Most of them will tell you they stopped around 5 or 6. A very few will still be playing with them past the age of 8. But for the most part, it's devices that they're into.
It's now digital devices. So unless they get some sort of similar love, like if there was a proper, I don't know, Minecraft port for Star Wars or something like that, like
or Fortnite skins.
Yeah. Maybe that's the way to build memories. It's really an odd and different world.
Well, I mean, the deal is, it's like, if you look at the prices on the toys, and I didn't really start looking at this stuff until Ironcaster pushed me to it. You're looking at, $25 a toy, or maybe slightly less, in that range. And of course, a lot of these things, they hit the clearance racks pretty quick. So it's pretty clear. It's very clear that the toys are not for the kids. They're for us. They're for us who have the money to buy into these big collections, to nostalgia bait and try to relive our childhood because it was the only really happy time in our life compared to the shit we have now. But all the new stuff that they're making based on all the new properties, it ain't selling. So
I've seen that reported somewhere, and I haven't been around enough to have it verified one way or another, so I can only take that for, take you at your word on that. But I mean,
you don't have to take me at my word on it. You don't have to take me at my word on it. You know what you do? Go into your local Walmart.
Okay.
And go to the toy aisle. look and see what's on clearance. And I will bet you $100 right now, what you will see on the clearance aisles is
Kathleen Kennedy's fingerprints.
Well, pretty much. It's like old Black Panther shit from Marvel that didn't sell from the second Black Panther movie. Star Wars shit from the last thing, with the lesbian space witches. I can't even remember what it's called. It was so bad. I managed to mostly get it out of my memory.
I completely checked out of Marvel after Endgame, and just hearing you rattle off the things that have happened since is making me a little bit.
Yeah, Shang-Chi and the 10 cock rings. Yeah, that shit's gonna be there on the theater.
However, one thing, if you'll permit me, the guy who played Death Dealer, Andy Lee, he's awesome. Go check out his YouTube channel, Marshall Club. They still do stuff. I followed him for years before he made it in Hollywood. So he deserves better than what Marvel can give him, honestly.
Yeah. Yang has it right there. The Acolyte stuff. Yeah, that Acolyte stuff, that ain't selling. Nobody cares about that shit.
Yeah. I literally forgot about that one.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, with the lesbian space witches.
Oh, for some reason I was thinking about the other A one, Andor. I don't think that has anything to do with it story wise, but I actually heard Andor was pretty good.
I keep hearing Andor was good too. You know why I don't want to watch it? One, I hated that character in Rogue One. That was the least charismatic character in the entire show. I mean, he was like a fucking charisma vacuum.
Yeah.
Every moment he was on the screen, he had I can't remember anything about the character other than he sucked. Literally.
I didn't even realize it was a character from Rogue One. So I remember nobody except for Donnie Yen and the droid. I thought was pretty funny in that one.
The droid was pretty funny, but I mean, everybody remembers Donnie Yen from that show, and he wasn't even in it that much. But Andor was in most of it, and they might remember Jyn Erso, but nobody remembered Andor from the movie. And yet he ended up getting 2 seasons of a show, which apparently were supposed to be good. But I'm like, who cares? Not to mention the fact that it's a prequel stuff. And it's like, who cares about prequel stuff? We've already seen what happens every time you got a popular character and you try to pimp them out. Because what got me back into watching Star Wars was the Mandalorian. Because that first season was good.
Heard that many times. Did the rest of it hold up at all?
The second season was good, and it was also chock full of cameos, right? Which, of course, that was jingling keys.
For me,
Well, it was jingling keys for me and everybody else because we were feeding into it, And of course, they had the Luke Skywalker appearance at the very end of it, and we were like, we were all crying and stuff because this is so awesome. We're 12 years old again watching this in the theater, but
right.
Third season and on, it's just like they dropped the ball and just kicked it into the gutter. And they ruined their other shows with it too. It's like their Boba Fett show, the Boba Fett show. The guy was literally like, a backseat character in his own show. Yeah. Not to mention the fact that they took one entire episode and turned it into a Mandalorian crossover episode where it was mostly the Mandalorian. Why? Because they knew that show was more popular.
Yeah, it's kind of like why I heard that after the fact. I've never seen any of these shows because I resolutely refuse to give Disney my time and money. But I hear so much about him after the fact, and that's exactly what I hear about Boba Fett is that he kept getting upstaged in his own show, like being background. Again, it really puzzles me is how is this serving the company brand? Like, what can be salvaged out of this going forward? What do? Do they burn things down and start fresh?
No, they don't even start fresh. Okay, I'll tell you what happened. It started with The Force Awakens. Okay, that very first new Star Wars movie. What happened is they knew they did not have a strong enough story. So what they decided is, they said, okay, well, we got our original cast that everybody loves, all the characters that everybody loves, they're old. They're too old to keep doing this, and some of them have already passed away. So we need to bring those beloved old characters in to pull in all the old fans as well as the new fans, because we need the old fans' dollars. However, at the same time, we need to establish brand new characters that take those old characters' archetypes and, you know, carry their legacy on to the next two movies beyond this first one. And the first one is nothing but a carbon copy repeat of the first movies, you know, the 1977 Star Wars, except it's worse in every possible way because they introduced a Mary Sue character who has absolutely, she goes through 3 films and she has absolutely no character growth whatsoever. She's already perfect from the very first film, can do everything perfectly from the very first film, and never needs to change. She only gets stronger and stronger to the point where eventually she, you know, she defeats the Emperor one-on-one, something that Luke couldn't even do.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they assassinate the character of Han Solo in the first film, a guy who, you know, should have been a caring family man, been looking out for his kid, his wife, and what was left of the future. But instead they turn him into a deadbeat dad who becomes an actual dead dad by the end of the show.
It was terrible. It was terrible. You did the most not obvious, that you missed the most obvious thing, which is, you know, put all 3 of them on the screen. That should have been the opening shot of that movie, whatever else you did, you know, but yeah, it was a shame. It was everything else was grandstanding. Instead of a Death Star that could destroy a single planet, we got an entire planet that can kill multiple planets, entire star systems. Yeah. You know, instead of the Empire, we have the First Order, which is even bigger and more bombastic than the other one, you know? It's just everything was using the original stuff to grandstand and overshadow and basically bury. Are you generally a J.J. Abrams fan?
No, fuck J.J. Abrams.
Thank you. I don't care for him either. I just I don't care for his style of filmmaking, and for me, I find his shows and movies mostly frustrating because they have a way of raising very interesting questions that he never gives you an answer for.
Of course not. He never intends to fill those boxes. They're just there as options in case he runs out of ideas. I left this open. I can go back and put something in there.
Yeah, I resent not just his movies in and of themselves, but the fact that he seems to have influenced a new wave of Hollywood filmmakers, because it's all over the place now. Nobody needs to explain anything. Nothing needs to make sense anymore because so random is a good plot twist.
Oh, yeah, that and tell, don't show everything. But,
oh, yeah.
But
yeah,
then
actually, the one film of his that I like because it actually works for it is Cloverfield, the giant monster movie.
No, that movie sucked balls, dude.
Really? I actually like that one. I like kaiju movies. Okay, lay it on me. Tell me how I'm wrong.
Okay,
Educate me. Educate me.
So J.J. Abrams is sitting in the theater with his son, and they just got finished watching a Godzilla film. And he tells his son, he said, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we had an American kaiju? And that was the whole basis for the Cloverfield movie. That shaky cam piece of shit where you only got to see the monster for about less than 5 minutes. I thought that was the worst kaiju film in existence until the American Legendary Pictures Godzilla movie came out, and you only got to see Godzilla for a whole total of about 11 minutes, I think. Maybe it was 7 minutes. I don't remember anymore. But
oh, really? So not a fan of the Legendary Godzilla either. I thought I liked it because I thought it was in the spirit of the original film. And yet also delivered on an actual monster battle, which they usually fail to do when they reboot a Godzilla franchise.
No, it was basically
I'm forgiving. Okay, yeah, right, lay it out on me. Okay,
you need to grow harsher and more acerbic in your opinion. But
okay, good. Yeah, I like this.
They used Bryan Cranston, who was, fresh off of Breaking Bad, still a hot title, to come and give some, some punch to the movie. They figured, okay, everybody's going to come in to go see this if Bryan Cranston's in here because he's like one of America's greatest actors, right?
Yeah, he's the hot
And
thing. I remember.
and they brought the Japanese guy in too because they're like, this is the most popular Japanese actor out there. Let's bring him in, and all the Asian fans will want to watch this too. So, and then they gave us 2 hours of movie and like 11 minutes of Godzilla. Everything else is, humans running around and eating up tons and tons of scenery and over explaining all the elements of the plot. And
you're right. I never thought to measure it in actual screen time of the monster. And in retrospect, I suddenly feel very cheated. How much screen time did Godzilla get in the original 1954?
Yeah. Oh, I don't remember anymore. It's been a while.
I don't even recall. But a lot more than 11 minutes, I think. A lot more than 11 minutes.
You can't compare it though. You really cannot compare a newer adaptation to an older adaptation because that's like saying, oh well, John Carpenter's The Thing is so much better than Howard Hawks' The Thing. I'm like, of course it is.
Right? Yeah. It's John Carpenter for one.
Yeah. The original Godzilla. I think somebody told me at one point there was only like 9 minutes of Godzilla in that movie, and I'm like, okay, that's not very much Godzilla for that film. But A, that film is not extremely long, and 2, there is a good build-up, and the tone is completely different because that is a genuine horror movie. This was not. This was supposed to. Everybody went into that theater not expecting to see a Godzilla horror movie. They expected to see, ooh, kaiju in film, fight, Godzilla, most popular kaiju. And that's not what we got.
This is true. They should have just gone totally bombastic from anyone. Well, thank you. When I own the Godzilla franchise, I will bring you on as a consultant to guide the storyboarding at the very least. I mean,
of course,
we've got to do things right.
I've got almost every single original Japanese Godzilla that's ever been made. There's a few holes in my collection, but not very many. So I'm a huge Godzilla fan.
Not to brag, I have them all. I also have all of the Japanese ones up all 3 series, and also my wife has sat down and watched all of them with me. She said last year, she out of the blue said, "You know what would be fun? We should watch all the Godzilla movies from beginning to end in chronological order." And I said, "Are you serious? You are serious?" And we did, and it was glorious. We collected the whole thing. She's a real gem. She is.
And incidentally, that Godzilla, what is it, 2002 version? Was it?
I was about to ask you about Matthew Broderickzilla.
No. God, no. We don't even talk about that. The Japanese don't even call him Godzilla. They call him Zilla.
Yep. Yeah. And they bought the rights specifically to have Godzilla smash him in. I can't remember which one it was. It was in the Millennium series. He and Zilla get stomped by Godzilla.
One moment, I'll tell you.
It was Tokyo SOS or All Out Monsters.
No, Tokyo SOS. It was Godzilla versus Hiryu, I think, or Kiryu.
Kiryu. Oh yeah, that was one of the Mecha Godzilla ones.
Final Wars.
I should have known. That name, that title never sticks on my brain appropriately.
Final Wars was hilariously good. I mean, that was just nonstop action craziness. They knew what to do with that film.
So, are you more of a Showa guy or a Heisei guy?
I like both.
Me too. But it's hard. It's like I have to. I grew up on the Showa movies. That was Saturday afternoon. But the Heisei movies, I think, are all around better. Including there is kind of a consistent story arc through all the movies.
Well, by the way, I'm muting my mic because I'm coughing.
Oh, that is perfectly fine. If you need to take a break, just let me know.
No, I'm usually just drinking water, but I'm coughing a lot. That's why I couldn't have a show on Saturday.
Understood.
I was literally
I've been suffering myself too. And a lot of times I'll get struck. I even got my little throat spray in case I get struck in the middle of performing.
I need to try to have something like that. But I mean, okay, I'm assuming that you've seen Godzilla -1.
Yes.
Okay. Now, give me your dead honest opinion.
So it is not my favorite Godzilla movie. I think it is a great story and does a great job of giving you a human story that you can care about amidst the crazy Godzilla action. I think it honestly did not live up to the hype for me. I think it was legitimately good, but I consider Shin Godzilla to be the superior movie.
What?
Yes, I love Shin Godzilla, and I will fight you on that one.
Yeah, you will.
All right, come on, bring it.
Yeah, okay. Shin Godzilla. It's supposed to be a commentary on the government's inability to deal with a problem, a crisis. It's directly based on the Fukushima reactor disaster where they didn't react to it. Okay, I get it. I get that it's a very cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a boring ass Godzilla movie. Yes, it's the most powerful, most frightening and horrifying Godzilla ever, but it's a boring ass film.
Well, that is particularly what I liked about it. Again, for me, when Godzilla can successfully go back to its horror roots and tell an appropriate horror story surrounding that, that's when it moves me. And that's why I think highly of Shin Godzilla. It is a good horror movie and presenting Godzilla in a whole new light, in a whole new vacuum where he's not like, well, the first attack happened in 54 and we haven't seen him in 80 years and now he's back. This was a whole new thing. And I thought a pretty good enaction of how the modern world would react to such a thing.
Possibly. But I think -1 was also a horror movie. And they made the destruction more personal. Because at one point, the guy's girlfriend is, she's on the subway train and Godzilla attacks the train and you see her fall off the train and you think she's dead for sure. And that kind of grounded it in more personal feelings for how you felt about the rest of the film. It's my favorite Godzilla movie at this point, aside from Final Wars, which, I mean, come on, you can't top that one. That's just...
Yes. Well, and that's the one thing, again, that I would say one of the primary things as a film where -1 succeeds is they give you a human story that you care about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you don't get in most Godzilla movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I got that out of Shin Godzilla. Whether you agree with it or not, I felt for those characters trying to deal with an unprecedented crisis.
I didn't get it in Shin Godzilla. I got it in the original Godzilla, where even though Godzilla doesn't take up that much screen time, you're still invested in the characters. Even when it was the Raymond Burr, delivering lines to some guy from, that was still interesting.
That's the funny thing. The Raymond Burr rendition does not hold up for me at all. That's actually unwatchable now because in the internet, it was fine back in the day. It was never my favorite amongst the Godzilla movies. It was kind of like when that one was on, you went, oh, okay, I'll watch this, better than no Godzilla. But, really what you're waiting for is Godzilla versus Megalon. We all know this. But, it once... with the internet age, I got the opportunity to see the original Japanese for the first time with subtitles, and so much a better movie that it renders the Raymond Burr unwatchable to me.
I like both versions for different reasons, to be honest. I probably like the Raymond Burr version because it's the one I grew up on, and I didn't see the Japanese version until later. But I love them both, just because They both told a very human story that I could get involved with, and you can appreciate Godzilla as a force of nature that can't be stopped. And I don't know, Shin Godzilla just never really did that for me because it's just I'm so removed from what's going on because we're constantly being whisked away to little offices and having people talk back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and there's like no human connection to it. Oh no, the creature is moving downtown. What is it doing now? Oh no, what are we going to do? Like, well, do something.
I guess that's one of the things that made it feel a bit more grounded and real to me. So I can allow you to be wrong, I guess.
Well, everybody's got an opinion, and nobody likes the way anyone else's smells. Unless you're into that sort of thing, in which case I don't judge.
No, but again, that gets back to charging for a stream. There are some things I will not do for free.
There you go. Nor should you. Okay, so what'd you really bring me here to talk about?
Oh, well, actually, I focus mostly on TTRPGs, and I hear you're kind of into that. Usually the place I start with most guests is, how did you get started in TTRPGs? What game was it? What year? And what was that experience like for you?
I want to say it was 1980, 1981, maybe. Well, actually, it was before then, to be quite honest. In one of the old discount stores near our house, they were selling a whole bunch of kind of like dungeon crawl board game type things, which I don't know. I can't find them anymore. I have no idea who made this way back in the day, but they were dungeon crawl style games, and they included a whole shitload of lead miniatures. And these are back when they were made out of real lead.
Wow.
Yeah. And it included shit to paint them with and everything. And God help me, I wish I knew who'd made them to this day, because I would search them out and find them for sure. But yeah, my mom got me one of those sets when I was, I want to say like 8 or 9. And I painted up all the little miniatures, and your dog is beautiful. Hello, puppy. Hello, puppy.
He wants to be part of the show. He's a born performer.
He does. It's okay. It's okay. Puppy's always okay.
It's okay.
But yeah, I painted all those miniatures, and I didn't know what the hell to do. I was 8 or 9 years old. I couldn't really read all those rules and stuff, but it got my imagination going in the right direction. So a few years later, they put out all those choose your own adventure books, right?
Yeah.
I loved the shit out of those things. And at the same time, I also discovered Elric of Melniboné. So I started reading that, and I had already been reading Conan well before that. I mean, I live an hour away from Robert E. Howard's house in Cross Plains, so I visit there all the time.
Okay.
I visited his grave twice. I don't know if it was a Grenadier set, Patty. You'd have to look them up, but yeah, there weren't many people making minis back then.
Yeah, there really weren't. I think Raul Parda goes that far back, but I'm not sure even. Those are the only two I can think of from back in the days. I don't know if Citadel was around by
no. Citadel wasn't around back then. But they would come out around that time, because shortly after discovering the Choose Your Own Adventure books, I discovered the Fighting Fantasy Game books. And those were written by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingston, the guys behind Games Workshop.
Yes.
And those things were amazing.
Yeah, those are amazing books.
And right about that same time, like a stroke of fortune, I was in YMCA daycare, and, one day I'm in the locker room, because I just got out of swimming or whatever. And somebody had left on one of the benches a Moldvay Red Book D&D book. The original basic D&D Red Moldvay book.
Nice. I know.
And,
got it right behind me.
Well, I mean, and, back then it was, finders keepers because somebody had left it behind.
Right.
So I picked it up, started reading it, and from there on, I started learning how to play D&D. And what I couldn't figure out from the rules, I kind of extrapolated using Fighting Fantasy as kind of my guide. And that actually kind of informed me on how you're supposed to run dungeons and stuff. The only problem I had was one of my other friends handed me my first adventure module. And unfortunately, it was the Tomb of Horrors.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's kind of an unfortunate beginning if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is this how this is supposed to go? Everybody's dead and it's been 5 minutes.
Exactly. I mean, I read that thing and I thought, oh, so this is what dungeons are supposed to be like. It is like supposed to be completely full of death traps and people are supposed to die left, right, and center. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I was a killer dungeon master for a while there, thinking this is what you're supposed to do.
So, did you have a lot of much trouble getting people to come back for a second game?
No, it was easy back then because we all lived in the same trailer park, and these are your regular friends. So it's kind of like so what else are you going to do
today? Well, we'll play the game because it's boring otherwise.
DLSD 25 Heritage Minis Paint and Play, multiple sets with minis, paint rules. That's probably it. That is, I'll have to actually look them up to see them because I distinctly remember in my brain what the miniatures look like, what the sets look like. So I will look those up. If I can identify some of those, I will definitely post it up on X that this is the one. And yeah, you're right, D&D. Hey, it's good to see you, buddy. But yeah, that was my start. And then I remember for another birthday, we had a big like what do you call those places? Like not an outlet, but like a general store type, furniture, stereo equipment, all that kind of stuff. They sold everything but food, right? And they sold toys there too. So me being a kid, I'm still interested in toys. I go check out the toy aisle. Well, right there in the toy aisle are the original advanced D&D books. Wow. With the demon cover and everything.
Yep. The Ifrit on the cover and all that good stuff in it, holding a mostly naked woman. And this was around 80 or 81, were you saying, or did this come a bit later?
This was a bit later.
Okay.
This was a bit later, but what led me to want to buy one of these is one, they were all on clearance. They were cheaper here than anywhere else. So we're talking actual DM's guide for like $15.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Player's guides for $10, monster manual for $10, all that kind of thing. So I had just picked up B4, The Lost City, right? And you know how it's got like 100 level pyramid? The first 50 levels are described, but then there's the other 50 levels that are underneath where they don't actually write out anything. They just tell you what's in the rooms.
Yeah.
And it had a bunch of monsters in there I had no stats for because I just had the basic book. So I thought, oh, well, there's a monster manual here, but I'll bet you I need to get this in order to figure out what's in the bottom half. So for one of my birthdays, I got the $10 monster manual, took it home, and I'm like, okay, so now I have stats for these things, but what is this psionics and shit? So,
and then you need the DMG.
Yeah. And then I got the DMG for $15 a little bit later, and it took a while before I actually got a player's handbook, but once I did, it opened so many doors, and it taught me all the shit that I was missing. By this point, I had the expert set too, but I wasn't interested in basic and expert anymore. The AD&D was so much more cool.
Right on. I can dig that. So right from the get-go, the advanced, that drew you in more with all the various things that it encompasses. And how strict were you with the rules back in the day? So I played a lot of advanced back in the 80s and stuff like that. That was our game, of course. But we were the classic. We dropped everything that made it too much like homework. This the different to hit bonuses against armor types. No, that's gone. Weapon factors, that's gone. All that kind of stuff went by the wayside.
Well, okay, I'm going to offend Patty when I say this, but I'm still a kid at this point. My mind isn't even fully grown yet. So yeah, we kind of bypassed a lot of those rules because that was a lot of shit to keep track of. And besides, that stuff wasn't explicitly stated in all the modules I was picking up. So I just went with what was in the modules, and when I needed to look up something, I looked up something, and I didn't worry about it. The combat rules were pretty easy to deal with.
Heretic.
And I mean, it's just I'm a little kid, dude. What do you want me to tell you?
Actually, that's perfectly justified to me. So nice to know.
I was going from fighting fantasy to basic D&D to AD&D. So,
Yeah, and AD&D had a lot of cooler stuff, the selection of magic items and spells, stuff like that. Even from that simple, even when you were just
the selection of pole arms kept us fascinated forever because we didn't even know what half of those shit were.
Yeah. It's one of those. Why would I use one of those? It's not as good as a sword, and
And unfortunately, like most, players, you fall into the trap of, well, this thing does the most damage. That's the one I want to carry around. So,
yeah. Well, and I've been playing some first edition more recently, where we are using all the rules as much as we can get them all in there, everything that we can, and the rule I was just joking about, different bonuses to hit or penalties depending on armor type, is actually one of my favorite things to include. It adds a lot more. It changes that calculus that you just discussed. It's not simply what does the most damage. You have to go, well, this weapon is terrible against plate armor. Well, most weapons are, but there's some that are good.
Well, yeah, well, we didn't really understand how that worked back then.
Yeah.
So, it's Gui's arm. But the deal is, it's like, we still knew how basic D&D worked. We figured AD&D is just this, but with more shit. So that's basically how we played it. I mean, it's pretty much as whatever does the most damage, you roll to hit AC, whatever, and you hit or you miss, and you deal this much hit points of damage, you or you don't. And it worked for us because we were kids. We didn't know any better. I'll tell you what, though. What ruined my desire to want to play outside of my own little group, where I was the one who had to read all the rules and keep up with all the rules and everything else, our local hobby shop, our friendly local gaming store at the time, is just a hobby shop. And this is the kind of hobby shop where, you have a big old section of models in one part, and the other part of it is all like, gaming shit. Right. And it's where I got my first, actual polyhedrals that didn't come in the basic box.
Okay.
But, and they were, they had the edges that would, cut you if you.
Oh, yeah. Those razor sharp points, man.
The very same one. And I had to, use the crayon to crayon in all the stuff. That's cool. That was okay. But anyway, yeah, me and my friend, we went to our first game. And there was some guys up there already. We didn't know they were older than us, and they said, "Yeah, you guys can play." So I brought out my character, which, admittedly, my character is ridiculous because it's not like I earned any of that shit. I never got to play. I was always the GM, so I had to kind of like build a character right there
from scratch, practically.
Yeah. So I showed my character, and they all were kind of like snickering at first, and I didn't understand why. I understand now, but their way of handling it was, first off, the guy said, "Okay, well, I'm going to make this adventure based on the Dragon Riders of Pern," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I've never read that, but okay." So the first thing he does is he has some of my stuff removed or confiscated or basically walking off. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem fair, but I'm good. I want to play. And then right after that, he introduces something called the Thread, which Grimm has later has told me about what the hell it actually is in the book. I don't remember anymore. But
right.
Basically, this thing, just completely destroys whatever it hits. I mean, it just breaks it down into nothing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So all the other characters are throwing up all kinds of spells and stuff. And the GM says, well, you can throw stuff back to destroy the thread to keep it from hitting. And I'm like, okay, well, I got the most powerful spell I got is Meteor Swarm. So I was going to throw a Meteor Swarm.
Yeah, that would clear a lot of thread. I've read the books. I know what I'm talking about. That would clear a lot of thread.
Yeah, except for one thing. One of the other characters was afraid that it would hit all of them, so he threw an anti-magic shell on me.
Oh.
So not only did
that didn't stop the thread, did it?
That didn't stop the thread. I didn't get my spell off. My character got eaten alive in like one round. And as part of it too, they took away my character sheet and said, "Okay, well your character's dead." And I said, "Okay, well that's how they do it. That's how it's done. This is we at that time we thought, okay, these are older guys."
At that point, you thought back on running the Tomb of Horrors, and you said, "That's what that feels like."
No, at that point, I thought, okay, well, these are older guys. They know what they're doing, and we don't. And this is what actually happens in a game.
How old were you when that happened?
Shit, I don't remember. 12, maybe 11.
Okay, yeah. That's really sad.
That's a harsh lesson to learn when you're 11 or 12.
It is. People in all hobbies have this thing where they feel like they need to haze newcomers or something like that. Everybody's got to pay their dues. And there's something to that to a degree, right? Because that's what we're talking about doing when you want to keep out the dirty casuals, the tourists, the people who have been coming through. There's people who we know just aren't going to stick around, right? We want to have those barriers. And yet I've seen and heard many stories of stuff like that myself. Oh, I lost him. I'm going to keep blathering because I know what I'm talking about. But, I don't understand why grown men, if you have an excited 12-year-old join your table, why you would bother to haze them, destroy them in that way. I would be like, okay, I'm looking at your character. Have you ever played before? Okay, this is your first time playing. I would establish that really quickly. And I would say, okay, it's all good, man, but this current character isn't going to quite fit with what I want to do. Have you ever read this book? Oh, you haven't read this book? Okay, let's give you something else that'll fit. And then we'll just take it from there. See, didn't miss a step. Hardly noticed you've gone.
Good. Yeah. I don't know what happened. It's like your stream just said for some reason that we lost connection. And okay.
I don't know if it's me or you. I've had that a couple of times in my last few streams. So,
well, in any case, yeah, that kind of soured both me and my friends' experience on playing with others. We no longer trusted anyone outside of our group, so we just stuck to our own little style of play and, never got involved with anybody else. And it would be many years until I actually pulled other friends into play and did other things. It actually is about the time that second edition dropped. And some guy, one of my friends from high school, is like, "Hey man, I know this guy. He wants to play second edition because he wants to play Ravenloft because Ravenloft had just come out in a box set and all that."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I don't own second edition, so let me see if I can find it." And sure enough, I went to Toys R Us, and there was a copy of second edition Player's Handbook for like $5.99 in the clearance bin.
No kidding. Already in clearance?
Kidding.
I guess it had probably been out for a little while by that point, huh?
I want to say it was 1990, 1991.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I got a Player's Handbook and started playing. He ran Ravenloft, and I didn't think he was very good, but he tried, and and so I still had my big old collection of D&D stuff. So I started running again too, and I was using second edition rules, but I was running classic stuff because I had the original Ravenloft book. You know,
Right.
I still do.
Yes. Me too.
And
I have the first one and the second one, the original modules.
I think I have every edition of Ravenloft that ever came out, to be quite honest.
I don't have
I've always been
anything
a
for the
Ravenloft
second
fan.
edition. I do have the box set and some of the books from the second edition days. But I have actually never used them or run them. They're kind of things I inherited over the years.
Oh no, I loved them. I thought that was a really interestingly good setting. Most of the people I ran it for didn't like it, but that's because they were more into the power fantasy. So Ravenloft is the exact opposite of that.
So is power fantasy a common theme that draws players to the table in your experience?
Well, no, not necessarily, but yes. Most people, I think, play role-playing games because, I mean, let's be honest. The main reason we play games is to, our own lives are not always ideal. So we play games to get away from our real lives and to experience something different, something better for a short time, even if it is having to put on a character and walk in someone else's shoes and act completely different from who we really are. Or at least that's what we, the older players, do. Now, the younger people, I think, inject themselves into the game more, which is part of the problem. The fact that they're trying to see themselves in the game too much. And I'm like, you're not supposed to be playing yourself. You're playing a character. You yourself are not a tiefling. You're playing a tiefling. You don't have to think like yourself. You have to think like this character that you created. But, inevitably they personalize it and they fetishize it and it becomes their own persona. And I'm just like, it's not what it's supposed to be. It's a character.
So by your judgment, there's a very distinct difference between, well, this is me as a tiefling versus really trying to get into who that tiefling is as a person, as a character. And
well, I mean, okay,
your frame of mind to fit that.
I mean, Jack, let's be 100% honest here. If you were playing a chaotic evil character, well, the first thing you don't do in a party is, announce that you're chaotic evil, because that's stupid. But after that, if you want to do something that's, sociopathic, like, oh, the bartender or the barmaid didn't get me my drink fast enough. I think I'll take her outside and show her how fast I need to be attended to. I'll let your mind go where it wants to after that. But you, as an individual, would never do that. I would never do that. Most of the audience watching would never do that because that's irrational. That's incredibly sociopathic. And of course, there's a law. But in a game, you might be able to get away with it.
So what is to be learned or gained by portraying that in a game as a fictional character?
I suppose it's a form of catharsis. Two of the people I played with, and this was all the way up to 5th edition, by the way, they're nurses. I mean, literally, that's their profession. They literally make their money and their savings and their career and everything is on helping people. And, that's a good thing. We can't think of a better good thing that you could do for somebody. But the characters they played were absolutely vile.
Okay.
You understand?
I understand completely. I used to vampire and used to storytell for a vampire LARP.
Yeah.
I've seen some depraved things.
Exactly. So and that's probably why vampire got to be so popular, because you could just kind of step outside of yourself, and so to such a degree that
it's the ultimate taboo breaking kind of a game.
Yes.
And up to and including the point it was probably the origin of X cards and trigger warnings and stuff like that, because goodness knows I had more than enough crying breakdowns at more than one LARP in my day.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that's part of it. I mean, I don't know when we started getting so scared of gaming. I guess it was probably during the lockdown, when more people were discovering 5th edition, when more outsiders were starting to come into 5th edition and discover it and have fun with it and playing it over the internet and all this kind of stuff. But as more, normies started getting involved with it, they enjoyed it, they wanted to enjoy it, but they found out that it's like, yeah, when you're playing a character that's allowed to do whatever they want to because it's their role-playing experience, and they see other people who are getting into it and doing what their characters would do, that I guess that somehow offended a lot of them,
Yeah, I've seen that balance too. I think Daniel has a great point here with the issue with the self attacks and challenges become de facto personal attacks. I largely agree with that, and I think it speaks to a deeper level of maturity as a gamer, of realizing that you being attacked or robbed or whatever it is in the game is not the same as going after you.
Right.
And it ironically, the littlest thing is what I've seen tweak people the most. Taunting is usually people get really upset about taunting much quicker.
Oh, they do.
Blatant attacks.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, they take it to another degree. It's like, anything that bothers them gets singled out. Oh, I'm squicked out by spiders. You can't run a drow game because spiders.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times you remind people, like, you're not playing yourself. You're playing a character. Your character is maybe in danger from spiders, but you yourself are not. This is not these are make-believe spiders. I can't help what gestates in your head by my descriptions, but
and if pardon me if it comes across as harsh, but if you're so emotionally and mentally delicate that the thought of spiders disrupts your life, I think playing games should probably not be on your list of priorities. You need to see that first, So I'm willing to make allowances for just about anybody for anything. But if there's something like that, there still has to be reasonable adult expectations, which leads back to what I think Daniel was saying is you have to be able to dissociate from your character. Well, of course you guys, left my character to die. He's a total bastard, right? There has to be room for that, because those characters really do liven up your game as well.
They can.
Yeah, they can when done right. One of the other experiments is playing multiple characters. So
oh dear.
A really evil character. There's a palate cleanser in playing a good character around the corner. Because when I've had stints where I've played, in a LARP or some other game where I'm playing a particularly evil or despicable character for a long time, and that can be a downer in and of itself. I've come over the years to find that I really prefer playing the heroes if I'm going to be locked into a single character for,
of course,
the time.
But I mean, realistically, I know Daniel's going to hate me for talking about alignment this way, but I think people are really complex critters in our mentality and the way we develop and things. And even though, we say we would do this and this and this under these circumstances, we don't always, not in reality. And so it should go with characters in a fantasy world. They're complex individuals with their own foibles and everything else, and it's like, okay, my character is an upstanding good fighter type person, but his backstory is his parents were murdered by goblins or orcs or whatever like that, and so of course that's one of the lowest level creatures that you'll run into as a first level. So of course the first time your party goes out there and fights orcs or something, and the first time one of them knocks out an orc and wants to take it as a prisoner, your fighter's like, walks over there and cuts its throat, and the whole party's horrified and wants to get rid of you. Then it's kind of like,
yeah. Well, and I really get the level of understanding the character and pushing that. My experience actually is, by and large, players don't really freak out about that kind of thing. Kind of the opposite, So I had a freak out when they saved a goblin one time. Maybe that says more about the people I was playing with at the time than anything else.
I think so. Not to crap on anime so much, because I love anime.
Right. Go ahead. Crap away.
No, see, but here's the thing. I think the fact that a lot of gamers these days also watch a lot of anime, which anime has a lot of fantasy RPG elements and things and tropes.
Yeah, I've noticed.
They see the characters in the anime doing things like, capturing goblins and then turning them into members of the party, or the little cutesy things, and just bringing them along with them. And they think, oh, this is going to work out just like it does in the anime. And I'm always kind of like, that really depends on the GM. If the GM wants to allow that to happen, he can. But realistically, you're looking at a monster created by monsters who has always been monstrous and has basically survived by raiding, pillaging, and decimating other people in order to get what they need to survive, even going so far as to eat people, their dogs, their horses, and, doing whatever your mind can possibly imagine to their women.
Yeah. So, I mean, if the anime in question is Goblin Slayer, I don't think you have much chance domesticating those goblins.
No, exactly. And if that's the way your GM runs his goblins, good luck taking that little guy as a pet, because that ain't gonna happen.
And it is a 10,000-foot view that helps you understand how an unfamiliar mind thinks.
It is a good guideline, I admit.
I do use them, and well, I don't know, when they're built into the game like they are in D&D, I make them actual, like, tangible forces in the universe. But when it comes to player behaviors, I really do look at them as more like compass points. They point the direction, not really determine specific behaviors, because we could be in the party two different lawful good fighters and still have very different personalities. One could be a stodgy curmudgeon, another a young, optimistic, bright-eyed, squirrely guy. Who knows, right? There's still so much variance with alignment is not the be-all, end-all of character behavior in my mind.
No, and I mean,
I do like it when it exists in a system like that.
I mean, here's the thing. Maybe this has become kind of like more of a moral breakdown that we're seeing in more entertainment these days than anything else. But it's like, take, for example, the video game Diablo 4. I've been playing a lot of that lately. And I haven't gotten through the entire thing, so I don't know how the entire story ends. I have an idea how it ends because, unfortunately, one of the cutscenes just kind of revealed everything. I'm like, oh, well, shit. But I still want to get there and finish it. But the thing is, at one point, you're introduced to an archangel. And this is, supposed to be the, in the D&D books, he would be lawful good, the highest heaven, and everything else. Well, this archangel apparently was tortured for centuries in hell. He was captured and tortured for centuries. And, one of your other NPCs remarks, they said, yeah, well, being captured and tortured in hell for centuries kind of makes you an asshole. And sure enough, the angel, you meet him, and yeah, he's kind of a prick. And everybody worships this angel like a god. So yeah, this angel's kind of an asshole, and he thinks he's at the center of a prophecy, and he murders his own child and all this other stuff. And I'm just kind of like, this is not lawful good behavior. This is what happens when whoever created that angel hasn't stepped in to do something about it. So it's not necessarily a given that that alignment is 100% one way or the other. And a lot of times people would say, like, well, demons are always 100% evil. Absolutely. And, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's what makes the exceptions fun. But that shouldn't become the norm. And that was one of the things that made Driss Duerden such a great character in the beginning. It was a drow who wasn't evil. It was a drow who was good, and a male drow who wasn't good, who was good. You know? And then all of a sudden, more and more of that kind of drow started to appear, and then eventually they just retcon the whole thing. They say, oh, Menzo Benzeron is like the evil drow, and they're just like a little colony offshoot. But the main race of the drow are actually good people, and there's 3 whole different sects of them. So they're completely different, and they're all good. It's just those bad ones there. Just those bad drow over there.
Slow down. I need you to back up.
What?
They did, in fact, retcon drow to be mostly good.
Yeah.
What book did that happen in?
I don't remember. I didn't read that shit, but you know, the internet is really good about telling you all this stuff.
Ugh. Well, I own the 24 core books, right? And they still, to my recollection, I'm going to have to go double check now. But to my recollection, they still position it as, well, Drizzt is they're a playable option because of Drizzt, but Drizzt is the exception.
Yeah. I still remember whenever Pathfinder 2 decided that because goblins became their little mascot and everything, they also became a playable race, and because their homeland was destroyed, everybody was more or less charged with, you know, accepting them as regular races that are common and not refugees? To be. Yeah, they're refugees. And not only that, but you know, people are supposed to embrace them. I'm kind of like, really? Goblins? This is the very first,
nose, isn't it?
This is the this was before all that, but I mean, that was before modern day. But you know, but here's the thing.
This is not a new problem.
No. In Pathfinder First Edition, in the very first adventure you play, the very first adventure they released, the very first creature you run into is a pack of goblins attacking a village and singing a song about how they're going to chop up all the dogs and eat all the horses and all these other horrible things. And you're, as a GM, it's in a text box, so you're encouraged to sing it to the party. To give them an idea how horrible and nasty and evil these goblins are supposed to be. And then fast forward, like, 8 or 9 years later, 5 years later, whenever they released Pathfinder 2, and we're just suddenly supposed to accept all these little goblins into our parties and as part of our households and part of our villages and everything else. And I'm like, are you fucking mental?
Well, I'm biased. I like goblins, so that's about the main thing I do like about Pathfinder 2. Beyond that, I don't have much use for it, but
I like Pathfinder 1. I don't like Pathfinder 2.
I do rather get your point. Oh, that is not an opinion I have heard before. What was better about Pathfinder 1?
Just the sheer insanity about the different combinations you could come up with. Now, yes, it leaned into the super duper high-powered fantasy that people enjoyed. And that's one of the reasons why I say, like, a lot of gaming is power fantasy. Because people don't want to play the game and be weak. The 5th edition is a perfect example of that.
That is true, and that's the crux of what we were discussing earlier. Most people want to play these games to be a more capable person, not a more helpless person.
Exactly. At the table I played at, you know, I had people rolling up their stats, and they would get mad anytime they got less than a 12. Because, you know, a 12 is +1. And it's like the bare edge of where you get a +1. Mm-hmm. Anything below that is a 0 or a minus. So they'd roll up and they'd come up with a 10 on something. And I'd be like, well, 10 is average. 10 is the average human being. This is a perfectly, you know, cromulent stat to have. This is not a negative. But there's no pluses. I'm just average. I don't want to be just average.
Yes.
You know.
So where do you fall on that spectrum? Are you a 3d6 down the line kind of guy? Are you a point buy kind of guy because you like people to be able to design their characters?
No.
I find myself more of a random roll kind of guy, and the stricter the better.
Okay. Well, first off, it really depends on the system, but since the system I tend to favor is one of the Without Number books by Kevin Crawford, whether it's Ashes Without Number, Cities Without Number, Worlds Without Number, Stars Without Number.
Now, you just started an Ashes Without Numbers game recently.
Yeah.
I think I saw that stream. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the core of the Without Number stuff? I'm not personally familiar. I've heard good things, but there's many different games in that series, and Ashes is one of them.
Yeah. Ashes is the post-apocalyptic version of it. Cities is the cyberpunk version of it. Worlds is the fantasy version of it, and Stars is the space version of it. And they're all pretty much intercompatible. Now, I mean, you might have to do a little bit of shoehorning here and there to get some of these things to work, but he's got rules for all that stuff. So he knows how all his stuff can interconnect. So if you wanted to play a magic user from Worlds Without Number in Stars Without Number, he's got rules to make it work. Nice. And it works credibly.
Is it a D20 sort of a system, or is it completely different?
No, it's D20 based.
Okay.
But you do have the familiar 6 stats. But the way he's got it cut up, you don't get your stats don't really offer you really big swingy pluses and minuses. Is part of the key. You really have to be exceptional to get a +2 from an 18.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like anything like 12 and up is like a +1. So
yeah, that's more reminiscent of how bonuses worked in the earliest editions of D&D. There were certain things like that. It was a low threshold to get the bonus, but it topped out at +1.
Yeah, and see, I think that was kind of the genius of what he did. Is he basically went back to the beginning, the old original stuff, and he rewrote it in such a way as to where it's using old familiar rules in a new way. And the funny thing is, not only this, but other players have told me who are older, and have been around a lot longer, that some of the other things that he uses as rules are also reminiscent of that. Like for one thing, he has the rolled up hit point rules, and his rule is real basic. It's kind of like, okay, here's your hit dice, roll your hit dice, and see what your hit points are. Like, so let's say you get like a 6 for your first level, right? When you get to second level, now you roll 2 die 6, right? But if the number you have that rolled up on your dice is not higher than your current hit point total, you stick with your current hit point total.
Ooh, I like it.
That's an old system, though.
Right. I've heard that, some people even have gone that further step of, if you roll lower than your current hit points, you get the new total. Your hit points can go down when you go up in level, which is...
No, you can't go down. You cannot go down.
Right. Yeah. Pardon me. I was speaking in another variant I had heard of, but yes. Yeah. So I'm familiar with what you're saying is you roll your total hit dice again, and unless you roll higher, they don't automatically go up.
Mm-hmm. Basically. And I thought that was kind of silly, but then but having seen it over and over and over again, I'm like, okay, it actually makes perfect sense to me now, because it stops power creep, or hit point creep at least. Or at least it curbs it a little bit. But some of the other things he does is he has a skill system, which I like. And people will debate about skill systems. People will say that I don't like skill systems because you can roll your way out of everything instead of role playing your way out of everything. There is some credence to that, because I've seen players who do that. I literally had a player show up at my table while I was running Pathfinder First Edition, brought his character in, and it's like he's telling me what he wants to do, and he's already sitting here rolling dice on all of his skills, and I'm just like, why are you skill checking all this stuff? You don't need to skill check. You don't have to skill check until I call for a skill check. But basically, he wanted to roll his way through the whole game, including conversations.
And so how do you guide people away from that? What's your standard? Do you have I've heard some people have that philosophy of, look, if there's something important in the room and you tell me you're searching that room, I'm just going to say you find it. I'm not hiding it behind a spot check or whatever. Do you have a philosophy that drives your when you call for dice rolls?
Generally, yeah. It's like if people are looking for something extra or something beyond what's already given as obvious in a room, then yeah, I'm usually going to call for a check. But like if it's a plot crucial item that absolutely will stall the game out if they don't find it, discover it, disarm it, or whatever,
right,
I'm not going to leave it to a dice roll to halt the progress of my game, because that's a dumb idea. Now, if it's something that they, if there's like something they need to find in order to activate it to begin with, then that's a different story. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can actually see here where some kind of a device will fit into this, but you haven't run across anything so far that seems to fit. So, you think to yourself, well, maybe I should go back and check the rest of the dungeon to see what I missed. I mean, it's, common sense.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's like that optional hidden panel with the extra loot. Yeah, that'll be hidden. You gotta tell me, or maybe roll to find that one, or look in that specific spot. Rolls
exactly
don't count. Yeah. That's the basic. You tell me what you want to do, not what skill you want to use, and I tell you what the skill is. Yeah,
exactly.
Actually, that's pretty much how I do it too. Is I call for something, they tell me what they want to do, and I say, okay, that's going to be this at this difficulty or whatever the game system calls for.
Now, so the downside of having skill checks and skill systems, the other downside of it is, and this is something I've really kind of noticed more and more lately, but it's been a problem before, but I'm noticing it being a problem again now, is the fact that, let's be real, some skills just ain't gonna get used very much. And if your character specialized in that, or just happens to not have the correct skill or enough of a good skill to be good at something that they need to be good at because the checks call for it constantly,
yes,
you're gonna feel kind of left out. The biggest example I have, and right now I'm running Ashes Without Number, right? So there is a skill called Fix, and Fix is create and repair devices, both simple and complex. Building gear out of salvaged components generally requires the Fix skill when creating anything of significant complexity. Right?
Okay. I follow this.
Okay. Well, it's the post-apocalypse, so everything is broken.
Yeah.
So that's a skill that absolutely is, like your master class in survival necessity.
That's kind of like everybody should have the basic level of that. Like you have that just from surviving to adulthood in this world.
There are several skills on the skill list I'm starting to be convinced that should be on everyone's skill list. And the first one is Notice, which is spot anomalies or interesting facts about your environment. Roll it for searching places, detecting ambushes, spotting things, and reading the emotional state of other people. Fix, which we already talked about. Heal, right? Sneak, and Survive, which is Survive is listed as every post-apocalyptic survivor is likely to know the basics of daily subsistence, but Survive skill gives the PC the knowledge to find food, avoid natural perils, track targets, and identify plants and animals in their familiar regions. And I'm like, everybody in a post-apocalyptic environment who grew up in it should have these 4 basic skills above everything else. That should be front loaded into every single character that comes from this environment. But the way it's got its skill trees that are based on backgrounds, not every character is going to have all those. So you're going to have characters who are getting left out of the mix.
Right. Which, yeah, that presents a problem because I do recall games and situations like that where it's kind of hard to believe that they survived to adulthood not having any dots and survive. Like, how did you survive? Were people feeding you your whole life? You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a pampered noble, who just suddenly decided to take up adventuring or is stuck with a bunch of adventurers for some reason, then it's perfectly cromulent. You don't have those skills. It's understandable.
Right.
But if you're a wastelander of any sort that has been surviving on their own for any length of time, it's kind of like you're going to have all or at least 2 out of 4 of those skills.
Right. Well, and I remember another big point buy game I've played in the past is Champions, and in a similar way, there are certain synergies and things that you kind of need for certain concepts or skill packages. So that's a game where it was very easy to misspend your points and think like, oh, I got this covered, but oh shoot, I actually need a lot of dots and perception to make this character work, and I completely forgot about that. You know.
And I'll tell you, I've got all the hero system stuff over here. I've got Champions, and I've got just about every hero system thing you can think of.
What edition? I stopped around 3rd edition. I still have all my stuff, and that was back in the late 80s, early 90s when that stuff was coming out. It was the big blue book at the time.
That's the same thing. Same thing. Awesome. Yeah. I could photograph all my titles and show them to you if you really want to see, but. I mean, the latest thing I got a few years ago was Fantasy Hero because somebody suggested it to me, and it was one I didn't have. So
it was one of those. We talked about that a bit back in the day, but it was kind of like, if we're going to play fantasy, we're just going to play D&D, you know. So we didn't see much point in Fantasy Hero.
Well,
it was one of those things I always wanted to do.
I like the idea of basically being able to build your character any way you want to. The only problem is I play with power gamers, and I literally
this is not the system of choice. No, never play hero system with power gamers.
No, and the only reason we stopped playing hero system is because somebody decided to switch it over to GURPS, and then I got to watch them abuse the shit out of GURPS.
I see. Now I have not touched on GURPS. I've talked about it with several guests and rubbed elbows with some fans, and that's one of those bottomless gaming pits I have never fallen into.
I mean, you have to put some really, really hard, just absolutely ironclad rules in place when you run games that have point buy systems, because otherwise you will have that guy at your table who will find the loophole for every thing he possibly can. Like, okay, one of his ideas, and it worked because it was, you could do it in GURPS. He built the character and he put the giant template on it, right? Okay. Which costs a certain amount of point. But then his drawback is he put dwarfism on it. So he became a normal-sized person, but he still had all the giant shit.
Yes, he was a midget giant.
Yeah, so that's the level of he was the guy who had like Superman level strength, but he managed to pay for it because it only applied under certain circumstances, or it had certain quirks and all this kind of stuff.
It only kicks in if under these certain circumstances, which are almost assuredly going to be the circumstances he finds himself in when he needs that strength.
No, it was more like a case of, I have all these different crippling deficiencies on this strength. However, all of them are so unlikely to occur as, unless the GM has a copy of my character sheet in front of them to actively stop me from using it, I will almost in every single circumstance be able to use this at full strength.
Yeah, I've played with those people.
So you understand.
Yeah, I understand, and that's probably why I don't play Champions anymore.
I like those games. I just,
like 'em.
you know, I like them. It's just, unless you have people who are willing to be honest and play it straight by the rules and not fuck around with the decimal points.
The cheese. Oh man, there's so much
Mhm.
cheese in it, man. Yeah, and
GURPS is the same. And any point buy system.
by
Yeah, big eyes, small mouth, same thing. That's all of it. All of it's point buys. His favorite game, I think, is Villains and Vigilantes, which is similar.
see. I've never played that one. That one goes way back, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
The current one is something else, but no, I mean he's a big superhero fan. He's actually got the old Hero World or whatever it was, the original game that George R.R. Martin played and based his entire Wild Cards series on.
Right.
Super World or whatever. In the box.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Then that has to be late 70s.
Oh yeah. These are some old guys. Yeah, I mean, he has an original, Judges Guild. Well, he's got a whole bunch of original Judges Guild stuff. But yeah, it's like these are old players that have been around for a long time, but they got used to playing a certain way, and they don't like it, and they like to play the way that they like to play, and usually that is their characters are nigh invincible, hyper-powered, so far beyond the ken of mortal men. That they can literally, change the face of nations and continents and whatever with their abilities. And I'm kind of like, it's difficult for the average GM to challenge a character like this, right?
Yes.
But,
well, and I've been there with that with certain games. High level D&D is similar. It's just the numbers, the game system really just stops mattering. It becomes a story game because the players, for whatever reason, they can do whatever they want essentially. So like, just tell me what happens. Just tell me.
Exactly.
I mean, it's up to you guys now. I'm not going to bother to sit here and make you roll dice.
Yeah, why bother? Your characters are so powerful. It's like, what am I going to do? Your character is so powerful, like you can basically vaporize anybody. Well, what are you going to do? Go stop a bank robber?
So, well, and that's a darn good question, is how exactly do you challenge high-powered characters? Because that's wisdom that can cross over into any games. I think I do better than most people running high-level D&D adventures, as an example, but I've played a lot of superhero games, and that kind of prepares you for it because you're more used to situations where somebody can do a particular power or ability of great ability, or they can just do it over and over again repeatedly, like cantrips in the newer editions. What are the things that actually challenge powerful characters?
Other powerful characters, but one of the games that I really like, and probably the one that pulled me into Kevin Crawford books and all things Kevin Crawford, because I have bought everything that is Kevin Crawford. That is how much I believe in his stuff, and I would encourage you to do the same. But
I only have Scarlet Heroes, but I'll look into the others.
Scarlet Heroes is amazing.
Yeah,
that is the best substitute for basic D&D ever created. Bar none.
Ooh, that's a high recommendation. All right, I'll take that under advisement. I've been dragging my feet about getting it to the table in things. Yeah, I know it's been on my list. You got to cut me a little slack, man. In the last couple of years, I've acquired a lot of games. And,
okay, I can see that. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, have you not seen how he deals with originally Scarlet Heroes was designed to be one GM, one player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I picked it up specifically because of the solo gaming aspects. I'm a big time solo gamer.
But have you seen how he deals with, like, let's say you play a fighter and you get to a locked door. Have you seen how his system is to deal with that?
No. Tell me.
He has a system in place that's called Defying Death. And I'll read you the actual thing because it's on page 19. It says, sometimes a hero is left to face inexorable doom rather than succumb to the lethal poison of the centipede woman or fall prey to the psychic domination of the blood sorcerers of Tien Lung. The hero may defy death. They may also defy death to overcome some insufficiency of skill. So basically, your fighter comes up to a locked door and he has no lock picks or no way to open this door other than brute force. So to defy death, the hero rolls a number of D4 damage dice equal to their character level, calculating the damage normally. No points on a 1 and 1 point on a result of a 2 through 4, right? Because all damage
dice. I remember how the damage dice work in Scarlet.
Yeah, the damage dice are brilliant in the first place. So, and that damage, and then the damage is done to applied to their hit points. If the character is reduced to 0 hit points, then they're left with 1 hit point, and the attempt to defy death fails. But if they endure the tax on their luck, they automatically resist the effects of whatever spell, poison, calamity, or trap oblige them to make the roll. If they're defying death to escape a fatal situation, then some opportunity opens up for their successful flight. It's also the same if they're trying to bypass an obstacle or overcome some otherwise unbeatable hindrance to their plans. And every time they do it, it gets more and more difficult. But the deal is, he's got a system built in that is a catch-all for when your player just absolutely is out of options and can't figure out what the hell to do. And their skills or talents.
And it's risky. You're putting yourself at risk, which is fundamentally good, and I like that.
I love that. That is immensely awesome. But here's the other part. Okay. And this is the part you probably didn't realize was so awesome. Every single character gets what's called a fray dice.
Yes, I love the fray dice. Explain it to me that I haven't read them in a while, but that was one of the things out of it. I was like, "Ooh, this looks awesome."
Okay.
About fray dice.
Okay. So the way the fray dice works is you have a numerical value on your fray dice. It's 1 die 6, 1 die 4, 1 die 8, 1 die 6, whatever. Mm-hmm. It is basically a free attack. You can do whatever you want. Like your character can be running down a street or something away from, armored horsemen. Your fray dice is a free attack at whoever it is. So if it's your fighter, he can throw a 1 die 8 fray dice at his opponent. Now, he doesn't do any damage at all if it rolls a 1. Right. But anything else...
dice.
Yeah, anything else is regular damage. And all that damage is applied to your enemy's hit dice. Mm-hmm. Not hit points.
Yes, hit dice are hit points.
Mm-hmm. So, except for your player is the only one who has hit points.
Right. I love that. I love that abstraction of hit dice.
I do too. And the magic user in particular, we found out how lethal they are because they have a 1 die 4 fray dice, right? Which doesn't sound like anything.
But
however,
ranged, right? Or it goes anywhere.
Fray dice are always ranged. Okay. I mean, effectively, you create the circumstances of how the fray dice is used. Like, if the fighter's running away from armored horsemen and he says, okay, well, I'm going to use my fray dice to, grab a rock and throw it back at the horseman. Okay. And he happens to roll an 8. Is like, his rock manages to go right through the opponent's skull, shatters his helmet and everything else, and drops him dead in the street. Because it's 8 points of hit dice damage. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think it doesn't splash in Scarlet Heroes. It does in Godbound.
Okay.
But here's the thing with the magic user. He only has a 1 die 4 fray dice, but it affects any creature.
Meaning, and regardless of
doesn't matter
distances, invulnerabilities, or anything like that. Werewolf, silver bullet, don't need it.
Don't need it. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what. I mean, you could be facing one of the Hell Kings, and maybe you can't hit his armor class, but your magic user can always hit him with his fray dice. Now it's only 1 or 2 points of damage every round, but still.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is the fact is in the case of the frayed ice for the magic user is when they run out of spells, they don't become useless because they still have that frayed ice.
Yes. Yeah. And that was one thing that I at least tacitly liked in the later editions, 5th edition and the 6th edition of D&D was that you always have cantrips to fall back on. It definitely changes it to a high fantasy setting rather than a low fantasy setting, but I think there's a place for that.
And have you actually looked at the world, the world of that he's got for that?
I have skimmed it. I did not read it in detail. The Scarlet Heroes world.
Yeah. Did you see all the monsters?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They're all Eastern.
Yep.
This is because Kevin Crawford reads a lot of old Chinese texts. He translates them, I guess.
We all gotta have hobbies, you know.
I really don't know very much about him. I have asked him to do interviews more than once, and he's said, no, I don't do interviews for anybody. But occasionally I'll see him pop up and do an interview.
You can understand. Yeah. It's got to be a rare thing. He knows somebody or something like that because you can imagine he would be in demand if he did start doing interviews.
Oh, yeah. I will challenge you.
Okay.
Consider this a personal challenge. Whatever group you have, okay, the basic classes in Scarlet Heroes are Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, Thief, right? Which is your 4 basic archetypes for D&D. I challenge you to run any module for D&D that you like that is, basic, Thief, Magic User, Fighter. Yeah, absolutely. Do Keep on the Borderlands. Play Keep on the Borderlands. Let your party all be using these particular rules from this particular game and see what happens. And go completely raw with it.
Yeah, I'm a raw fanatic that when I play a game, I always go raw as much as possible. I only do rule 0 when I've run into something that just won't work otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay.
I think you'll like it. Godbound uses these same rules, but to an even greater effect because your character is a demigod. So he also has frayed ice, but whenever he hits something with a frayed ice, since he's dealing damage to hit dice, anything that he hits, if he kills it and he still has more damage remaining, it splashes to the next character.
Oh.
So that you can imagine that gets pretty disgusting. No, but Godbound is amazing.
Okay. Is that also Kevin Crawford?
It is. It's the one that got me into reading Kevin Crawford's stuff because your characters are demigods. They have powers that are so unbelievable. I mean, they're not even they're not mortal at all. Your characters really are superheroes. And I mean, it is kind of a quasi fantasy post-apocalyptic sort of setting, so it's not like actual cape superheroes.
I've never played it, but the description is somewhat reminiscent of Exalted.
Everybody says that, yeah.
The characters in the power levels of the characters, I should say. Whereas Exalted is more like primal, prehistory, dawn of time sort of stuff.
You could do Godbound that way.
Okay, it would work that way. It sounded more like almost a post-apocalyptic.
It is
sort of a default. Okay.
Yeah, because basically the basic outline for Godbound is society got super duper advanced, people got super duper advanced, science got super duper advanced. People stopped believing in God, therefore they tried to actually create gods, and they failed horribly and ended up kind of destroying their world. And as if by like some kind of cosmic balance, demigods started appearing amongst mortals, and now they have the power to actually, change things, to move nations, lead nations, to, do all kinds of stuff. And I will say this, if you do Godbound, I would put together a group of people who are motivated.
Sounds like you mean that in a particular way. Motivated to really delve into these characters. Yeah, continue what you're doing. But oh, go ahead.
What I mean by motivated is when they build their characters, they need to have a goal in mind and build towards it. And it can't be little.
It's got to be a nigh unachievable goal. It's got to be like a life goal.
Yes, like I want my character to completely dominate this one nation and have all of its people follow and worship me.
Okay. So grand things. These aren't little, I want to open up my own coffee shop in town. No, this is grand stuff. I need to invent my own branch of magic. Something huge.
Something huge. Something otherwise unattainable. You got to look so far beyond ordinary because your character isn't ordinary. He's a demigod. He's capable of doing things like, okay, I mean, hang on a minute. Let me pull it up real quick. Let me describe some of these powers to you.
Okay.
Let's just take a look at the divine powers. Now, a lot of these things require effort, so they're not like at will necessarily. Some of them are automatic though. But we'll just take a look at the first one on the list, which is alacrity. Every character has a certain number of words. And what a word is, it's like, this is your domain that you control. So, first off, by having a word, it can change your stats. Heroes who, with the alacrity word, cannot be surprised. They may increase their dexterity to 16 or 18 if it's 16 or higher already. And then every word has lesser and greater gifts, and you build them up as you go. But like, let's see, walk between the rain. This is an alacrity lesser gift that is always on. It's constant. Your natural armor class is 3. You cannot be hit by anything not driven by a purpose unless you allow it. Falling objects will never strike you unless some will to harm you set them in motion. Traps meant to hit an intruder have a chance to hit you. Armor and shields don't benefit you.
Interesting.
And that's a lesser gift. You want to hear a greater one?
Absolutely.
Untouchable. Instant. Commit effort. That's your basically, when you commit effort, that's like you can't have all your powers on at the same time necessarily. Some of them you have to commit effort to. Whatever you've committed effort to means that you can't also commit effort to something else. So like if you have one superpower that's working, this one can't work at the same time because you have to decide which one you want on and which one you want off. That's just a quick basic on that. But untouchable. Commit effort to scene and to scene end to become tremendously difficult to hit until the start of your next turn. Physical attacks hit you only on a natural 20. Even those attacks from foes that would normally hit automatically. As an instant gift, you may use it after an attack roll.
Right. So it can be, he crushes you. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no. Or it's like, the bad guy got a natural 20 crit. So I am untouchable.
Brilliant. And so there's the essence of the characters is this selection of words. Whatever words you select for your character defines your abilities and their capabilities.
Mm-hmm. And you can pick more words. There's a whole book with extra words in it that aren't in the original book. And yeah, your characters are unbelievably powerful. Like the word of dragon is just, I mean, Jesus, it's like your character literally starts out as a dragon.
Is one of the words you can choose goblin?
No, No, but I mean, you could probably do that with
name
the
is
word
perfect.
shapeshifter.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, as long as I can work goblins in some way, that's very important to my identity.
Well, you could always build your own word.
Oh, that's what I would do. I would have to build a goblin word. That's got to be my word.
But yeah, it's like actually there's an easier thing you can do than besides building a word for that. Thanks to the fact that Kevin Crawford's games are kind of like all pretty much playable across all different stuff that he's done. And this is something else I was going to point out to you. All of his without numbers, which are all, like I said, interchangeable, interlockable, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're playing cities without number, and your GM says, like, oh, okay, we're playing cities without number, but I'm going to let it be a little bit, what's the Shadowrunny. So you're free to pick races, either from the cities book or from another without numbers book. Well, Goblin is in Worlds Without Number.
Well, there you have it. Okay.
And here's the other part of it, too. He did something for races that I absolutely 100% applaud, and you probably will after you hear this. So, every single character has what's called, what the hell is it? Foci. Okay? And, yeah. Yeah, and so the thing is, every beginning PC picks one focus, and some of the characters get to pick two foci, right?
Okay.
And what foci do is there are little lists of skill packages type things. Like, let's say your foci is I'm gonna give you okay, Apex Predator is a focus. Okay. Which says you have extensive experience in hunting or handling dangerous wild animals and know how to avoid, intimidate, or kill such beasts. Level 1, which is what you would get if you picked it the first time. You gain survive and shoot as bonus skills, so you get bonus skills. And then once per scene as an on-turn action, force any hostile beasts in combat with your party to make a morale check. Add half your level rounded up any shock or damage or shock done to sub-sapient beasts. So that is a focus you could pick at first level, right? And usually there's an option to get two foci, sometimes 3 if you're playing a heroic character.
Okay.
So that can open up a lot of really cool character development ideas, because you could be like an arms master, a close combatant, and a deadeye, which are 3 completely different focuses that give you different skills and give you all kinds of extra abilities on top of that. Or you could pick
a well-rounded combatant.
Yeah. Or you know, all these things have 2 levels, so you could pick 2 levels of it and become a master of whatever it is. But here's the other part of it. Every race, every non-human race, be it, goblin, orc, robot, whatever, it consumes a foci. Some of them are so powerful to take 2 if you want the complete race.
Like being a troll or something like that. They're really big and they regenerate. Or whatever the example is.
Yeah, but the cost is, it's going to cost you a foci to do it. As a matter of fact, they have something like that in Cities Without Number. What do they call it? Give me a sec. Having to pull all this stuff up just so I can reference it for you. But yeah, it's the fact is, I started out with basic D&D, just like I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I did. It was the Holmes box set back around 79-ish, 80, somewhere around there.
Oh, yeah, see, you got Holmes, I got Moldvay. But I liked Moldvay. I mean, I got to see all those cool Bill Willingham illustrations and stuff. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah, the Moldvay box sets are excellent. I actually started with Holmes set, and then we went to the hardback books. And then a few years later, a friend of mine got into it and bought the Menser Redbox himself, and that's so I got into the Menser set back in the 80s. That was actually my favorite official edition of the rules.
Yeah, see, I would have thought that was cool. I didn't get that. Like I said, I got lucky. I got the Moldvay set instead. And that was my thing.
It's not bad at all, but there is something special about the Menser, especially the basic one. That's the one that really stands out amongst all the starter sets because of the solo play elements, the way they introduce you to everything. You know, they didn't really duplicate that in any later editions.
But you know, I didn't see Beck Me until later on, and I thought, oh man, I got cheated. I wish I started with this because it had the built-in choose your own adventure and everything.
Yeah, that was the best part of it, and they did more of those later. And again, you've probably heard over the years, the later box sets were much less developed and fleshed out than they really kind of could have been or should have been before release. But
I thought Companion was pretty good, but I didn't see anything past that.
Yeah, Companion was pretty good. They introduced at least good domain and mass combat mechanics for you to use. You know, and they're serviceable if kind of broken in their own way. And then in the master set, they gave you weapons masteries, which was an interesting thing. And it certainly creates more parity between fighters and wizards in the older editions.
Okay. To kind of go into what you were saying earlier about playing one of these. Okay, so in Cities Without Number on page 225 is Ogre.
Okay.
And ogres are 2.7 meters tall, lessened somewhat by their habitual slouch. Their skin is exceptionally tough, plated at points with a bone-like organic armor that forms in symmetrical patterns on their bodies. Yada, 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 right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to play one, you can, because all it's going to do is it's going to cost you a focus. Now, what you trade off for it is this focus benefit. So obviously you'd take this instead of one of your skill things, and to play an ogre, you replace your strength score with 14 automatically. If it's less than 14, you gain +1 to both strength and con modifiers. And this is something else he does. A lot of times he doesn't push the stat.
He pushes the modifier.
He pushes the modifier. You could have like a 10 strength, but if your modifier is +2 because of all of your extra stuff, then what difference does it make if you have a 10 strength? And the downside is you suffer a -1 penalty on both your int and dex modifiers and to your choice of wisdom or charisma modifiers. You gain +2 bonus on all strength-based damage rolls, not including shock, and your base ranged and melee AC is 14. You don't require an exert skill check to lift, break, or throw anything.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Humanly possible from baseline. Yeah, it's like you can rip doors off their hinges and don't even have to roll for it.
Effortlessly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And armor and other worn gear specifically sized for humans cost twice as much for you. Simple, easy to follow rules.
We're over time, so we're going to start wrapping up. But before we go, I wanted to address these two things from Michael. While he's looking that up, what about Hot Sally's Escape Pigs? I don't know. We haven't been back there. We didn't get a game this last weekend. So this weekend coming up, we may be heading back out that way and find out what happened with Hot Sally's Pigs. Unless you're following the misadventures of our AD group, you don't necessarily know. Is Rule Cyclopedia broken when you get into higher level play? Yes, it honestly does. It really does. So first and foremost, you have the problem that every high level D&D gets into, which is uber powerful spells. That's the first problem. My other experience, though, is that playing the rules as written, the domain rules make you way powerful way quickly. Even if you start with a a very modest domain. If you ran it for 20 years and followed the rules for population growth and taxes, revenues, and stuff like that, even with just a single hex, you end up with a ridiculous amount of millions of gold pieces. So, whereas a lot of people can't imagine, you need so much experience points to get to 36th level, it's practically guaranteed if you found a domain, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm. And, Driving with Dragons, Daniel's right. Any D20 base game will break at high levels. 5% variable factor simply doesn't refine a roll high system enough.
Yeah, and that does appear to be true. Even like my favorite alternative is Castles and Crusades, and once you get in the higher levels, you're asking them to just roll higher numbers. It doesn't. It still functions, but it really does fall through. When you get into higher powered stuff, I really do feel like you need to switch to something more like a superhero game or something that handles that.
I will say that most of the without numbers games stop at level 10. I mean, it's a built into the system. But to talk about Castles and Crusades for a minute,
yeah,
I'm going to tell you 2 classes that they worked on that I absolutely adore in Castles and Crusades, because I've been playing that for a while. First, I love Castles and Crusades Monk, because it has almost
any edition.
Well, it is the best monk in any edition, and it has no dead levels. You always get something every single level. I think all the way up until like level 15 or so. But I mean, come in. I mean, it's level 15.
Right, yeah. I mean, realistically, it's rare for campaigns to get into those higher levels without a real plan from the DM. But that was my experience. I love the monk. Get rid of all those notions. You get no skills. You're not acrobatic. You have a lot of hit points and you hit hard. That's your frontline fighter, which it was my beef with every previous edition of Monk.
Mine too.
What was the other one that you liked?
I think you'll probably agree with me on this one too.
Okay.
I absolutely adore their ranger more than any other.
And you know why?
No magic.
No magic. Well, yes, the paladins do the same thing, and I like that too. And a little piece de resistance. If you like the class and a half option, if you want to play a paladin or a ranger that gets little spells on the side, you can do the class and a half and just some magic user or cleric if you want.
But their ranger really, I mean, and I have actually asked Troll Lord Steve about this on, when he was on my show, but I said, you really based this on Aragorn, didn't you? He said, yeah, we did. He wanted his ranger to be more grim and gritty and more like a survivalist of the land. And I'm like, awesome. That's what we wanted.
That's great. And yeah, Daniel's right. That was my experience towards the end of 3.5e. Well, I was also at the time running a large group. We had 7 or 8 players regularly, and most of them were spellcasters. So once we got to the teams and levels, it was every combat was over in a single round, whether they won initiative or not. It was really, did I get to inflict any damage on them or not, is really what it boiled down to.
I'm gonna disagree with Daniel on this win initiative, win combat, and that is only because the AOO, the attack of opportunity game in 3.0, 3.5 is so stringent that, like, let's say my typical response to an enemy party is I build a polearm character who has more reach than normal. So basically what happens is I threaten more area than your typical character.
Spike chain, baby.
Well, spike chain works, but I mean, like, I'm actually talking like something that's got longer arms with a long reach weapon, like a polearm.
Oh, and then like a large creature with a glaive polearm or whatever.
Yeah, and basically you control the battlefield using AOO. So if they do win initiative, they fear to use it because it's a case of, well, I'm going to trip his AOO and get killed on my way in.
Assuming a melee character. See, with my group of spellcasters, that did not matter. Attack of opportunity, that ain't happening. I got combat casting.
Yeah, that could stop it. That's one of the things, and I used to piss my DM off with this all the time. When we started playing Pathfinder First Edition, I started, all my characters had step up, and he was like, what is step up? I said, well, it's real simple. Every time you try to take a 5-foot step back, I step up to you immediately. I immediately follow your character 5 foot forward. You don't get away from me. Yeah, that's true, Daniel. If they win initiative and use good tactics, yeah, your party's still screwed one way or the other. But 9 times out of 10, it's cannon fodder enemies. The DM isn't, is running a blow through encounter. If you have a devious DM who knows the system really well and knows how to use the AOOs and all the other stuff and sets up a combat that is meant to be a challenge, yeah, you're going to kill your party.
I mean, I can always hit them with invisible fireballs like 10 at a time. So, I mean, it's always possible to kill the party. It's just not recommended.
Yeah.
All right, sir. I do have to be rolling here. So let's wrap it up. Where can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, T-Shirted Historian. Usually we have the Weekend Geek on Saturdays and Tuesday with the Geeks on Tuesday nights, which hopefully I'll have one tomorrow. So, and you've always got an open invite, Jack. So
I will take you up on that. Tomorrow evening, I'm going to be on Yang Yan Zhao's channel talking about all kinds of stuff. But I've been meaning to take you up on that since we talked about it a month or two ago.
Yan is an awesome dude. I've had him on the show many times, and I've been on his show, and Yan is a good guy.
Awesome. All right, sir, I must be going. This guy is telling me it is time to eat and go outside. So
it is.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you making time for me tonight.
No problem. I had fun. Hope you did too.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Jawin With Jack. I will see you next